Hello students, in this video we are going to study about concurrent forces, and to understand these forces we have to imagine a situation in which we have a body, means there is a body such that number of forces or multiple forces are acting on that body at the same point. So we have a body such that a number of forces acting on it at that same point, then such forces are called concurrent forces. So we can define these concurrent forces as forces acting at the same point on a body. Then such forces are called concurrent forces. Now the next thing that we have to understand is the equilibrium of these concurrent forces. So by equilibrium of concurrent forces we mean a state in which the body will continue in its state of rest or of uniform motion along a straight line, or we can say that the net unbalanced force on that body is zero. Although there are multiple forces acting on that body, but the net force that is acting on that body is zero. So in that situation the body will remain in its state of rest or of uniform motion along a straight line, and this is said to be in equilibrium. So in that situation the body is said to be in equilibrium. So equilibrium of concurrent forces can be explained as when, since concurrent forces are there, that means there are a number of forces acting on a same point on that body. So when a number of forces act on a body at the same point, but the net unbalanced force, the net force or the net unbalanced force is zero, then the body will remain in its state. If it is the state of rest, it will remain in rest, or if it is a state of motion in a straight line, then it will remain in that only. So then the situation is said to be in equilibrium. So net unbalanced force is zero and the body will continue in state of rest or of uniform motion along a straight line and this is said to be in equilibrium. At that situation we call body is in equilibrium. So this is the equilibrium of concurrent forces. So to understand it via diagram, we consider that we have a point O on a body, right? This is a point O on a body, and there are three concurrent forces, F1 vector, F2 vector and F3 vector, acting on that body at point O. So we have three concurrent forces that are acting on that body at point O. Means all these three forces are acting on the point O of that body. Now we are showing this as, suppose this is one force, this is the other one, and this is the remaining one. So we have three forces, let it be F1 vector, F2 vector and F3 vector. These are concurrent because they all are acting at point O, at the same point O of that body. Now to find the resultant, first we have to find the resultant of these two. by parallelogram law of addition, and then the resultant of F1, F2 and F3 will give the net force. So we can apply parallelogram law of addition here. This will be the resultant across the diagonal of the parallelogram, right? And this resultant represent F1 vector plus F2 vector. So this is the resultant of F1 and F2 by parallelogram law of vector addition. We have the resultant of F1 vector and F2 vector is equal to F1 vector plus F2 vector. Now the third force F3 vector act on the body such that this F3 is opposite to that of F1 vector plus F2 vector. The direction of F3 is opposite to that of F1 plus F2. Now if there is a state of equilibrium, then this net force should be 0, or we can say that F3 and this resultant F1 plus F2 should be equal and opposite. So if this force F3 act on that body such that it satisfy the condition that this is equal and opposite to this resultant, or we can write it as F3 vector is equal to negative of F1 vector plus F2 vector. If F3 is acting on that body such that this situation or this expression is valid, then the body will be in equilibrium. Then if this condition is valid, then body is said to be in equilibrium, because the net force acting on that body is 0. There are forces and these forces are unbalanced, but their net force or the net unbalanced force is 0. That's why this body is said to be in equilibrium, and this is called equilibrium of concurrent forces. Or we can also write it as F1 vector plus F2 vector plus F3 vector is equal to 0 vector. Now 0 vector isliye because force is a vector quantity, so it is represented by a null vector. Similarly, this was for 3 forces. If there are n number of forces acting on that body at the same point, means there are n number of concurrent forces, then this condition of equilibrium for n number of forces can be written as, for n number of concurrent forces, it will be F1 vector plus F2 vector plus F3 vector up to Fn vector is equal to 0. So this is the relation for n number of concurrent forces acting on that body. If the vector sum of all these forces is 0, then the body is said to be in equilibrium, or we can say that in general the particle will be in equilibrium under the action of n number of forces if these forces represent by the side of closed n-sided polygon taken in the same order. Okay, so this we can explain by using the polygon law of vector addition also. So this is the concurrent forces and the equilibrium because of concurrent forces. That's it for the video. For further video, stay tuned and keep studying. Thank you.